Dawn Must Follow Night, Part 1, Chapter 7. Read by the author, Hunter Dansin. As Yarrick was silently cursing himself for being caught staring by Maria, Kavar made his way back to the watchtower where he knew Muriel would be waiting. His thoughts turned back to the question he was supposed to answer. Well, he had already answered it, but not with the answer the librarian was looking for. What is the price of freedom other than blood? He balanced the bowls of stew and walked up the stairs. Muriel seemed to accept the first thesis, that the price of freedom was blood. The problem was not that Kavar was wrong. He was just missing something. It was clear there was some kind of lesson in this, something he was supposed to learn as a consequence of breaking into the library. Kavar thought about the other lessons he had learned at the Citadel. Those first few days had been hard. Living on the streets of Seagrim, he had learned that those who do not take what they need when the opportunity presents itself do not live. Stealing was a habit, and a necessary one. At Dawn Castle, however, those habits were not accepted. More than once he had been caught hoarding food under his mattress, just in case, before he grew to trust that the blades would not let him starve. He could remember the black eyes of the head instructor boring into him. Why do you steal? The boy shifted on his feet. I needed it. A sigh and a look of what? Regret? Disappointment? No, you did not, Kavar. The blades will take care of your needs. Trust us, and you will prosper. Trust not, and I cannot speak for your future. The boy looked into the cold, black eyes, and then looked away. Yes, sir. Was that what this was about? Trust? After all, Meredith had told him that he was being kept in the dark until he was ready, whenever that would be. He turned the corner to the study and set the two bowls in front of the librarian, who'd studied him with apprehension. Sit, he said. Kavar took the chair across from him. He looked at the floor. Have you given thought to the question? Muriel asked. I have. It's just... Kavar flicked his gaze at the librarian. Just what? You're trying to teach me a lesson, aren't you? Muriel smiled. I am an old man, Kavar. Teaching lessons is what we do. Can't you just tell me and be done with it? I know what I did was wrong. But do you know why? Because I disobeyed a law of the blades. But do you know why we have that law? Because, well, Kavar let out a frustrated sigh. I guess not. Muriel leaned closer. Knowledge is a tool, Kavar. And, like all tools, it can be harmful to the user if the proper technique is not utilized. That library, he gestured towards the ceiling, contains mysteries and secrets that have driven good men and women mad. There is a reason that only the blades and librarians can access it. Truth is not meant to be absorbed all at once. The human mind is limited, and though it is capable of reaching great heights, experience has taught me that it can only do so by steadily climbing one stair at a time. Climb too high too fast, and you will go mad. Especially when it comes to the black. Do you see? Yes, I think so. Kavar looked at the floor. The old man's meandering thinking washed over him. He could feel it smoothing him like a rough rock. But what does that have to do with the price of freedom? Now that is the right question to ask. The man who is free to think is also free to learn. But if he does not know how to think, if he does not know how to use the tool of knowledge with proper technique, then he will become prey to all manner of dangers. Philosophy is useful, no doubt, but a man can drown if he is not careful. What good is it if a man is given access to an unlimited library if he cannot distinguish fact from fiction? I don't mean a simple deduction of genre, but the ability to perceive the proper reality from the facts given. A person's actions are determined by what he or she believes, and if she does not truly understand what she reads, if she takes it at face value, too dazzled by a greater intellect to ask questions, she becomes enslaved to those ideas. So it is with intellect, and so it is with society. I asked what the price of freedom is, and you answered correctly that part of the price is blood. The oppression of the old ones was only shaken by violence, but that is only the front price for freedom. The recurring cost is responsibility. Do you see now? Yes, I think so. Kavar was looking out the window. The moon stuck in the sky like a great silver disk that he felt he could reach out and grasp. He imagined the canvas of the sky stretching and tearing as he brought the moon back to earth, a few stars falling to the ground with it. He turned back to the librarian. But how do you know when enough blood has been spilled? What if responsibility is not enough to keep a person free? Aye, Kavar, those are good questions, and ones which start to touch the nature of things. You are starting to see, I hope, just how far there is still to climb. There was a thundering boom, as if the giants of yore had come back to life, and were hammering outside the castle gates. A great yellow flame lit up the night sky, followed by yelling and an inhuman wail of pain and terror. They ran down the stairs and emerged from the base of the watchtower. A throng of students gathered in the yard. The terrible cry of pain grew louder while Muriel pushed his way through and Kavar followed. The training yard was bathed in an orange glow that made it seem to Kavar that the night was over early, but there was no sun, only fire. Burning pieces of the main gate were strewn across the yard. They made it to the front, and Kavar saw the source of the terrible shrieks. Framed against the blackness of night by the wrecked outline of the gate, there was a flaming horse. It kicked and reared up on its hind legs, thrashing about in throes of terror. Its front hooves hit the ground, and it seemed it would charge into the crowd of students, but it turned at the last minute and fled into the darkness. Just then the students in front of Kavar parted, and he saw Dmitri and Marith each holding a burden. Dmitri's was smaller and more delicate. They were moving towards the infirmary. The reflection of the flames flickered on Dmitri's face, revealing what might have been tears, though they could have just as easily been sweat. Marith followed. It was impossible to tell where Marith's black eyes focused at any given time, but it seemed that they fixed Kavar's own. He realized who Marith was carrying. Yarick's body was still smoldering in the prelate's arms. For a moment, Kavar thought him dead, but the body's chest moved and relief flooded in. But did it move? Kavar's view was not ideal, and the movement was small enough to have been imagined. Kavar had not considered his relationship with Yarick to be particularly meaningful. Until now, Kavar's existence had been a series of events that he stumbled through with one goal: survive. Attachments were a luxury. Gamins did not have threads to tie themselves to society. Those children in Seagrim who Kavar had found in like circumstance, though they had every reason to, did not attach themselves to each other. There was a barrier, an unspoken rule written on their minds by the harsh treatment of society that prevented it. It was an indictment and an accusation that writ itself into their psyche with every word, every glance, and every interaction with humanity. Hot tears rose in Kavar's eyes. He saw the glances and looks Yarrick received through the days, the beatings brushed off with a joke and a smile. He had considered himself superior to his friend. He was a better fighter. He scored higher on the tests. He was capable and promising, if also troublesome and headstrong. But what did that matter? Here the burned body of his friend had passed before his eyes, and he would have given anything to be able to grab the moon and throw it backwards to speak to Yarrick, to give him an opportunity to look his friend in the eye and refute the indictment leveled by society and say, "You are wanted." An instructor's voice snapped. "Form a line to the stables. We need a brigade." It was Joff, instructor of First Squad. The students obeyed. Kavar included, and the other instructors along with Muriel tried to contain the blaze. They worked until the moon sunk and rose again, pondering the same unspoken questions. Why would someone attack the blades? And who were they?